Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Willis, Wit, and Wisdom. My name is Eric Willis,
And I'm Bob Willis, the dad in this group.
and I'll be the son in this group. So,
We'll call it even.
today we want to talk about a topic that may be, oh, uh, timely, I guess.
Mm, Timely, yes, yes. We're going to talk about disappointment. There's a lot of people in this country who are disappointed this morning and today and yesterday.
And tomorrow.
Disappointments. And tomorrow, right? Next 4 years. Disappointment. It's part of life, isn't it?
It
Part of
really
life.
is. It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah. You
I,
deal with people who are disappointed a lot, don't you?
I do, yeah. And I've been disappointed, as we all
Yeah.
have been in life. And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
one of the challenges is to see disappointment as a normal part of the process, the normal journey of life.
Hmm. Yeah.
We all set our expectations. We have kind of a thought in our mind of how things are going to play out, how life is going to play out. And so when our expectations and reality um, aren't in sync, that that is disappointment
That's
between
right.
expectation and reality.
Right. I've heard, of course, you've heard me say that life should be lived in pencil because it changes.
Mhm.
That's when we have these expectations and we've almost engraved them in stone and they're not going to happen that way. We're disappointed. But I've discovered that life is a lot like photography. We develop from the negatives. We have negative things in life that cause us to develop things. Those negatives, sometimes we label those as disappointments. And if we can turn it a little bit, look at them as a challenge, maybe grow in that instead of being a downer, but look for a way that maybe God can use that. In fact, Eric, I have heard that disappointment is God's way of saying, hey, I have something better. Let's
Mhm.
go. And
Yes,
if we can look at it that way.
yeah, I love that concept, and to look at disappointment. If you think about what disappointment is, disappointment actually comes out of our own selfish desires. If we think about it,
Mm.
um, so what we're disappointed in is what we wanted that didn't come
Right,
about.
right, right.
Whether
Yeah,
that's an expectation that we've placed on God to come through in a certain way, and He didn't, and we get disappointed and angry and frustrated and disillusioned. There's
right.
so many nuances of disappointment. But what I wanted to encourage people to do today is journaling is big. Almost every time I have an opportunity to encourage people to write stuff down. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I want to give 4 questions to ask as you work through disappointment. Is that something?
Good, good.
You mind if I do that?
Make a note. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So the first thing you want to look at whenever you have a sense of disappointment is the situation. So what's going on? That's the first question. This is really simple. What's going on? What are the circumstances? What are the behaviors of other people um,
Yeah.
in that?
So I hear that stand back just a little bit and look at it, right? You
Yeah.
might be so close to it you can't see it, so it's stand back from it. Yeah.
Yeah. We get so myopic. All we see is this right here. We need to pull back and see the eternal perspective of this
Right.
disappointment.
Yeah.
And so get clarity on what's going on. Go ahead and jot that note. Second question I ask is, how are you responding to what's going on?
Hmm.
So this kind of gets
Right.
a little, we're getting closer to your contribution, right?
Hmm.
What are
Yeah.
your emotions? What are your actions? What
Yeah.
reactions have you had?
Right. We have a choice in that. And, I've heard the deal of the past, Eric, that the same tragedy can happen to two guys. One guy will go and jump off a bridge. The other guy will write a country western songs and be a millionaire. Okay. It's how we respond to it that makes the difference. It
Yeah,
can happen to all of us. Our response is important.
absolutely. And there's personal responsibility that we have to take. And this is
Mhm.
something that um, our disappointments, how many, I'll ask it in the form of a question. I'll play Jeopardy here for a minute.
Right.
How many of us in our disappointments, if we pull back, are we blaming other people for the things going on around us? Are we justifying behaviors and activities going on in us and around us.
Right.
Our disappointments can be a lens for us to actually see what's deeper. And that's the third question, is what do you think about what's going on? What do you think about what's going on? This is getting to the meaning that you're attaching to the circumstances around you.
Right.
What do you think
So it
about?
isn't, need to draw a line and not blame people at that point, but what do we think? Let's look at us and how's this affecting me?
Yeah, and write down and do a deeper dive in thinking and processing, what are you thinking about God in this disappointment or in this circumstance? What are you thinking about yourself? What are you thinking about other people? What do you think about life in general because of this circumstance that's going on? So you're seeking meaning with that question. And then the last question is, what do you want? It's that simple. What do you want? What are your goals, desires, wants, demands? So.
Yeah. Once we decide what we want, we can make a plan to achieve that. And I think that's the key, is that we can control that plan. We can write it down. It gives us some direction instead of being overwhelmed by all the disappointments. I had a guy tell me once, because of the grief, stress that he felt every day, even at work, he couldn't do his job. He said, I discovered, Bob, that I had to make an appointment with my grief. I'm too busy right now. At 6 o'clock this evening, I make an appointment. I'm going to face this, but not right now. So he made an appointment with his grief, and he said, I kept the appointment, and it worked for me. We have to do that with their disappointments too. Instead of going through the day, let it destroy us. Say, I'm too busy today. About 6 o'clock this evening, I'm going to face this disappointment and do something about it.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, because disappointments they pile up. And so if you don't deal with one disappointment and you continue your day or your week or your month or your year compiling disappointments, that's going to weigh on you emotionally. It's going to affect you physically. And so make an appointment with your disappointment. How's that?
Right. Yeah, I like that. And I like the idea also of look for an opportunity in it. When a disappointment comes along, let's look, there's going to be a trailer on that disappointment. Let's look at it as an opportunity. Where do we go from here? Let's get on board. Where do we go from here? And like I said earlier, God isn't surprised. And so maybe God's going to give us an opportunity that comes along with the disappointment. He'll focus on the opportunities.
Yeah. So people who have faced disappointments and reframed them in the positive have used phrases like looking for the silver lining, looking to see that the cup is half full, not half empty. And so how can you reframe the disappointment that you're facing? I would challenge you to reframe it in the context that there might be something up that's going to be better for you moving forward.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we may not have a clue on that yet. But that's where faith comes in, isn't it? Faith. God's not going to leave us alone in the disappointments. He's with us in those disappointments, but he wants to walk us out of them into the opportunities.
Yes. And I'll go ahead and throw this out there, that what disappoints us as people, God's ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are beyond our thoughts. You see, God's not disappointed in the things that disappoint us. He is working on us to help us come to a place of understanding that our disappointments are the first step in a deeper faith and trust in him. So endure the disappointments, journal through them, ask yourselves the questions, identify them, be aware of them, but don't let them ruin your moments.
Exactly. And I've noticed that disappointments only happen on days that end in the letter Y. It's the only time.
Yeah.
So we can expect
any other day it's fine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, any other day is fine. Those end in Y, just that's when they happen. So be aware it's going to happen. All of us. No one's exempt.
Yeah. So what's going on? How are you responding to what's going on? What meaning are you attaching to it? And you know what? Make a plan to move forward. And sometimes the plan to move forward is simply acknowledging it, calling it what it is, and choosing to take the next step in a different or better direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And then, I find some people like to, I use the term wallow in their grief. They may wallow in their disappointment and they get an attachment to that instead of looking past it. They're so busy holding on to it. And I don't think God is in that. I think God wants us to let go of the disappointments and look for the hope that we have in Him.
Yep. Good word. That's a great word to end on if we wanted to end it right now.
Hey, I guess we should. People might stop listening.
I know we've been rambling for a little while. So disappointments, they're opportunities for you to move forward. And so those 4 questions, engage them and learn from them, and be healthier in the way that you engage disappointments.
That's right.
Last words, Dad?
Just to love you, man. Love you.
Love you too. Thank you for joining us today on Willis Wit and Wisdom. We'd love to hear from you. So catch us on Facebook, follow Bob Willis. He has that face right there, and on Facebook. And you can find me at reclaimleadership.org. You want to give them an email address or something, Dan?
I would love for people to email if they have any questions or subjects they'd like for us to discuss. We usually we try to plan about a month out, but we can insert things as we go along. But you can email me at rwillis14@cox.net, rwillis14@cox.net.
And that will do it for us today. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you guys next time.
All right, bye, folks.